Welcome to the Invested Dads Podcast, simplifying financial topics so that you can take action and make your financial situation better. Helping you to understand the current world of financial planning and investments, here are your hosts, Josh, Robb, and Austin Wilson.
Hey, this is Austin Wilson and Josh Robb with the Invested Dads Podcast, here to give you 20 bold predictions for 2020. Josh, what are you thinking is going to happen in this new and fresh year?
Oh, it's going to be great. You know, any even year is amazing. Odd years are great too, but in general, when it's an even year, I look forward to it.
Man, you're weird.
I know. I like numbers that way.
I will say that this is the beginning of a new decade, the dawn of a new decade. So we're going to forever look back on the teens and the 20s, and this is the beginning of those fabled 20s.
That's right.
The last 20s were the
Roaring 20s?
Roaring 20s with all the dancing and flappers and dressing. I don't know.
There's a lot going on in the 20s. That was a long time ago, so we were not there.
I'm a little rusty on my 20s knowledge. So these 20s, 2020, starting now, Josh, what is going to happen?
I think, number one, we're going to start off big, all right? The Olympics in Japan, 2020, Summer Olympics, Japan.
You're going?
I am not going, but I'll be watching on my TV.
That's good.
Team USA, here it is. Ready?
Whoop,
Bold
whoop.
prediction. They are going to lead the total medal count for the Summer Olympics.
It's pretty bold. We've got some big competition.
There is. And I think every Olympic I've watched has gotten closer and closer. I think there's getting closer between competitiveness and the ability to focus in on athletes and train them.
I think you're just a patriot.
Oh, I think USA is just going to destroy all other countries in the Olympics.
I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I get a little emotional when I see a lot of, that when you hear that national anthem play, it's pretty awesome. It's a big stage.
The downside with Summer Olympics is there's no curling, which is one of my favorite things to watch.
And that's what we should come up with is summer curling.
It's called shuffleboard.
Number 2, Facebook's Libra. Yeah. So
what's Libra?
Libra isn't that a lion?
I think it's a constellation.
Oh, that looks like a lion. Facebook's Libra is really their attempt at a sort of cryptocurrency / payment system within Facebook users, where Josh can then say, "Hey, Josh, or hey, Austin, I want to give you some money. I'm going to use my dollars to go to a marketplace to buy some Libras, to give Austin some Libras so that he can take those Libras and get dollars by selling them on a marketplace." And it's super fast and efficient and transparent, I guess. It utilizes blockchain technology, which, plug for a future episode, we will have a full episode talking about that technology.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. That blockchain piece is really where the future of this technology is going. So that'd be interesting.
And I think that they've really faced a lot of scrutiny over the last year or so with privacy and stuff like that. So that's why there's a lot of regulation threats, I guess. Also, there's a lot of, the Congress has just drilled them on what this is going to look like. And I think Congress in general is very scared of crypto because it's the enforcement level and the transparency level is very low typically. So I think that Zuckerberg is going to have some real tough challenges to try and prove that this could be a good thing for consumers, and it's going to be safe and it's going to be private, but yet I don't know. It's just, I have a feeling it's going to be very difficult to gain the traction that it needs on the regulatory side. And Facebook's lost a lot of the support from its major backers like PayPal and MasterCard and those kind of companies. So it's going to be a lot harder to roll out.
Definitely think it's an uphill battle for them. Definitely.
I will not be purchasing any Libras in the near term as of now. Hey, Josh, guess what?
What's up?
Do you know about Murphy's Law?
I live it almost every day.
What about Moore's Law?
Yep.
What about Cole's Law?
Cole's Law?
Yeah. Cole's Law is pretty much sliced cabbage.
Oh, boy. Oh, man. Number 3, I like it. We're moving on to something that I became aware of earlier this year, something that is pretty important, and my prediction, and if I can be a part of getting this to actually come to fruition, I will. But I came to realize that women's dress pants don't have real pockets. In fact, a lot of women's clothing do not have pockets. As my wife described to me her frustrations as a wedding photographer for a spot to put her battery pack for her flash. And so my prediction is by the end of this year, women will start having real pockets in their pants.
I mean, this is about equality.
This is huge. This is
time
important.
to take a step forward and we've had pockets as men for hundreds of years, so it's time to pass that joy along.
In the winter, you can put your hands in there to warm up. In the summer, you can have hot pockets. It's going to be great.
I do like hot pockets. I'm pretty hungry right now, so that might impact what we talk about today a little bit. All right,
let's stick on clothing. What do you got?
Stick on clothing? Okay, yes. Number 4. So I believe that the double-breasted suit for men, so that's the one with like 2 rows of buttons.
2 pockets.
2 pockets. No, we're two rows of buttons. So like that front of that suit jacket just kind of goes over a little extra further, and
it's like a hug, right?
On the side, it's a hug for a
jacket hug
for your jacket. I think that those are going to come back. The convenient timing of that is that they're going to come back just in time that the entire financial services industry is going business casual.
So you can hang it in your closet when you walk in the door.
Exactly. You will be swagtastic for that one wedding that you go to every year where you need the in-style suit.
That's good. Now that we're done with fashion, which you could probably tell Austin and I care a lot about from those 2 bold predictions, we'll move on to elections. Ooh. So if you do not want to hear our opinions, you can fast forward about 20 seconds and then you'll be fine.
I mean, we are going to preface this by saying this is not a political podcast. We're not going to talk about, our opinions necessarily on, what parties we support or whatever, but we do have opinions on how we think things are going to roll out.
Yep. And when it impacts finances, we do broach the subject from that perspective when politics and finances overlap. But in this case, it's just more of a thought on where we're currently at here at the beginning of the year, what we think will happen in November. What do you got, Austin?
Yeah, I think that unless there's a dramatic slowdown in the economy heading into the election, that I do think that President Trump will be reelected. I think that the impeachment discussion and all of that is kind of overblown and won't get the traction from both houses of Congress. The Senate's really going to hang it up, so I don't think that that's really going to gain enough there to really actually impeach him. So I think that he'll roll out this term, and I think that unless the economy turns around or unless somehow trade tensions get, really fired up again, as we just had some reprieve on some phase 1 trade deal action, I think that unless that gets way, way, way worse, that he probably will get reelected. I also so that's bold prediction number 1. Bold prediction number 2 is that I think Biden's going to be the Democratic candidate. I think he's the most electable probably of that party from a platform standpoint, where he's maybe not too far one way or the other, that he can gain maybe support from a broad base of the Democrats. But in summary, I think it's going to be pretty ugly. I think it's going to be a lot of kind of dirty advertising, dirty politics, where there's a lot of name calling and yelling. It'll be entertaining, at least. Yep. What do you think, Josh?
So I'm taking a different approach, and I'm predicting that this year we'll have more votes going to a non-primary campaign than we ever have. In other words, we'll have more votes going away from the Republican Democratic nominee to an independent or third-party candidate, or maybe multiple that are split. But the idea, I think there's a lot of frustration out there between the 2 primary parties, and I think this year we'll see that come to fruition, where people are more likely to vote outside of those 2 parties, regardless of the outcome.
Yeah, I think that as polarized as the parties are, there's a lot of people that really don't really align with either one, with how extreme things are right now. So that could definitely grow. So I agree with you there. Josh, what do you think is going to happen with healthcare? So that's kind of a hot, touchy subject with these candidates.
Yep. So here it is. Ready? I think that healthcare system will forever be changed less than anyone is expecting right now. And so we're heading into this new 2020. There's a lot of talk through campaigns, through just the whole system, the costs of healthcare, and there's a lot of ideas on what can change it. But I think by the end of this year, there'll be very little change done to the healthcare system. I think that because of the way Congress is set up, there's not really opportunity for a bill to get pushed through, regardless of the November outcome. I don't think it's going to happen up until that point, and then there's not a lot of time post that for anything to happen. So my prediction is healthcare will be the same as we started for the most part.
Yeah, those split houses of Congress really put a damper on pushing anything too extreme through either way. So, yeah, I'm with you there. Number 7, I am boldly predicting that Josh Robb is going to avoid all dietary fads for the year except for moderation, because he preaches moderation. And sometimes he will even eat donuts, and that's okay, but moderate.
And
moderate
moderation.
amounts.
Yes. So,
Except for
not
donuts.
7 days a week.
Only like
You
6.
got to rest on one day.
That's right. Take a Sabbath of donut eating. So that is my bold prediction for Josh this year.
All right. I have a prediction. So 5G is rolling out. If you're in some big cities, you can start seeing it soon. My prediction is 5G is going to be disappointing. The rollout's going to be slow. Nationally, there's going to be a lot of places that are just not going to see it by the end of the year. And so my prediction is it's going to be a slow, boring rollout, and I think it's going to underwhelm what people are expecting from that technology.
Yeah, I think we're sitting here in the middle of
The middle
of Ohio. It's pretty rural around here, and
I think I just got 4G, so
I was thinking. So we're a micropolitan community. I think we have around 50,000 people here in Findlay that live here, and lots of farmland around. And we're not exactly on the top of anyone's radar to bring some strong 5G technology.
if they find a way to make corn husks the antennas of the new
We'll
5G,
have the fastest speeds around.
We'll be awesome.
All right, next up, number 9. I am boldly predicting, based on historical evidence, that Josh Robb will win the office pool at the Hicks and Zerker Capital Management March Madness pool. He's a how many time defending champion?
I believe it's 3.
That's a little
3 years.
unheard of. So either he's a really good guesser and probably should be a stock picker, or he's actually very knowledgeable and watches way too much college basketball.
And it's none of the above. It's a process.
So you're the one that picks it by
There's a
the mascot.
secret formula between jersey colors, mascots, and alphabetical order that really plays out well. I can't spell out my whole formula, or else I'll give it away. But
It was proprietary.
it is. But it's fun to do. We have all of our wives involved here at the office, and there's a couple other former employees and other. So it's a good sized pool, and it's fun to see at the start of the year the predictions, and then hindsight, you look back and kind of wonder why you picked certain things. And I tend to have a Big Ten bias that hurts me in some years, but overall, it'll be fun to watch.
So I'm just going to give you my money now.
I'll take it.
But so I think one of those secrets of your success is probably when you and your wife put your brackets together. You look at each other. You look at hers and say, maybe I'm going to change this a little bit.
She refuses to show me until after I submit mine.
See, I'm asking my wife for advice on who to pick usually, and we both do bad that way. So, all right, bold prediction number 10. I am saying that Tesla will fail to launch the Cybertruck on time. They announced the end of 2019 the launch of the Cybertruck and how the first orders will be delivered at the end of 2020. And based on the fact that Musk, while bright, he's a bright guy, he's definitely been successful, but I think he doesn't know how to use the calendar or the timeline reminder thing on his phone.
He snoozes too much. He hits the
snoozes
snooze button on all
He
those
snoozes
reminders.
those reminders on those calendar appointments, so he might miss.
New Tesla Model 2.
Yes,
Snooze.
snooze 15 more minutes. So I think that's going to get pushed at least until 2021. Yeah, that could have an impact on the stock price. It's kind of anticipating those sales being built in already.
Follow up. What's your prediction on the glass? Will it withstand hard objects being thrown at it?
All I'm saying is that was a marketing ploy, IMO, and I'm not planning on throwing any or metal balls at my Tesla Cybertruck glass that I don't have. I've not paid my deposit.
All right, moving on. This one is coming out of the holiday season. Got me thinking that I think next year, end of next year, Hallmark is going to come out with a brand new Christmas movie, but it'll be written by the same people and have the exact same bad actors in it. That's my prediction. So I could probably even spell out the whole plot line right now.
It's like all the washed up Disney Channel actors from the late 90s.
So yeah, that's my prediction is you're going to get some brand new Christmas plot where I could spell the whole thing out for you right now. There's a whole formula to it.
Go for it.
The guy and girl, one or the other moves into a new town. And they're looking for something. They have a current significant other, but then they find someone different who's totally different. They start to like them, but then something happens. They get separated. Then they learn how much they like them. So then they have to decide who they want. It's a tough decision, but in the end, some Christmas miracle forces them back together,
Mistletoe.
and they fall in love.
It's going to be mistletoe for sure.
Seriously, I should get editing right on this
check
thing.
coming in the mail for Josh writing the next Hallmark movie. All right, next bold prediction number 12. I am boldly predicting that the New England Patriots will win the Super Bowl. That is coming based on a lot of knowledge because I've watched 0 NFL games this entire year. So
what you've been tracking is football pumps and the purchasing of them to see if anybody's buying to inflate or deflate.
Exactly. Yeah, we're just preparing for the future. So I think that that's a pretty bold prediction, even though they're in first in their division, according to the research before this podcast. And they're
one of the few teams that haven't had a hurt quarterback.
Yeah, and sometimes they actually have won games in the past. They're okay.
In theory.
So that's my prediction. Josh, what do you think?
You know, my wife's a Patriots fan, so if I say anything bad about them, I'll be in trouble. So I will.
So I'm on Steph's good list today.
I will pass that one and say that I think the Patriots will be in the Super Bowl. And to keep the household in a non-argumentative way, I will not predict on the outcome, but they will make it.
But are you going to predict on the outcome of this season's Bachelor? Bold prediction number 13.
So this year, Bachelorette, I don't even know which one they're on, but I will tell you this much about it. At least no more than or no less than 3 people are going to cry.
Including yourself.
I may be one of those 3, but that's my prediction is that throughout the season, 1, there'll be a lot of tears. 2, some shocking new thing that's never happened before will happen on camera that they'll tease for the first 8 episodes, and then it will be less than the tease themselves had set it up to be. That's my prediction for The Bachelor.
So no joke, the reason I haven't watched any NFL football is because I don't have cable or any way to watch
But you can watch The Bachelor.
No, so what I was going to say is one of the gifts of not having access to that sort of entertainment is that I have not watched or even been coerced into watching not one episode of The Bachelor.
Well, if you want, there's kind of a March Madness of Bachelor where you pick all the names and you try to pick who's going to be the last one to get the proposal. We could offer that in an office
I know that
pool.
Could be the pool that I might have a better chance at winning than the March Madness one. All right, next up, I believe that the Federal Reserve will do what? I believe the Federal Reserve is going to hold rates steady for all of 2019, not 2019.
2020.
Actually, 2020. 2019's in the past.
You would be wrong.
Yeah, that would
lowered it 3 times.
That would be wrong. They did just lower 75 basis points or 3 25 basis point reductions in the interest rates really in the second half of the year. So I think they're going to hold those steady due to the following factors. We have really, really low inflation, and that is not causing things to get very expensive where they have to slow things down. We have a weakened manufacturing sector, and the Fed is hoping that these rate cuts are going to make manufacturing kind of pick back up globally, not just here, but globally as well. And we just got some little good news nugget on China trade with the Phase 1 deal kind of working together there. So I think that as long as that does not get any worse, that we will hopefully be able to hold the course and have this expansion sustained that's already the record expansion that we've seen.
That's good. I think speaking along that and within the economy, the Fed, there's things they're watching, and my prediction's probably something they are keeping their eye on, like you said, the China trade deal. So I'm going to boldly predict that by the end of 2020, we will not have a completed trade deal. That, in fact, that the trade deal will still be ongoing with tariffs and potential new hiccups along the way coming out in 2020.
So the caveat of that is that I think that if things get dicey in, October, and that things are not looking Trump's way on the election,
he could definitely pull that trigger.
He could pull the trigger and try and get a nice little bump in the polls.
That would be a way I would fail that prediction, is if he used that as an election piece right at the end to really boost it.
I do agree. Probably no full comprehensive deal because there's a lot on the table. We haven't really even tapped into intellectual property and all of that, and that is going to take a while to really make a deal. But yeah, I agree with you. Probably no comprehensive trade deal in 2020.
And I think too, China has to agree to it. So if they feel like there's pressure for that, they may try to push back to get a better deal. So who knows what will happen.
And they're watching the election too. So they're going to kind of know one way or another kind of how that may impact things as they watch how polls come out and stuff like that. They have a lot of people watching. So yeah, we'll see what things look like next year. Also next year, I'm going to boldly predict that the U.S. GDP growth is going to come in around 2%. So Bloomberg estimates actually say it'll come in around 1.8, but I feel that the consumer is really strong. We just had 325 basis point cuts in interest rates, so borrowing costs are really cheap. I feel like that's going to cause some investment and some expansion there. And we have some reprieve in trade with the phase one deal that we're just working through now at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. So I think that the GDP should come in maybe just a tick above where that's at, as Bloomberg says. So yeah, around 2%, plus or minus. I want it to round to 2%, so plus or minus 0.5%, not 0.5%. That's a lot.
That's a big range.
Yeah, plus it's going to round to 2%. That's what I'm saying.
All right, sounds good. So that's the U.S. economy. Looking overseas, I'm going to make a prediction about Brexit. So at the end of the 2019, we saw that the Conservative Party got the majority there, which is part of Boris Johnson's party. And so my prediction is that there will be a Brexit deal leaving the Union by the end of 2020. It's not going to be fast, it's not going to be pretty, and it's not going to be smooth. But I think by the end of 2020, they will have an exit strategy that they have implemented.
He's got the support.
Yeah, now he has the majority support. So I do think it will happen now.
I think that trade within the UK and the rest of the European Union is a key hang-up that they don't know how that's all going to work out yet. So I think that trade in general between the US and China and the UK and the rest of Europe, and then all of the other trading partners that work with all of the other trading partners, trade is like one of the topics that is really going to define 2020. That's not even a bold prediction. That's a knowledge nugget. That's a little bonus right there. That's a bonus. All right, number 18. This is a little personal one for me. Yep. So you guys might not know, but I am an avid Formula One racing fan, and I believe that my dude, Max Verstappen, shout out if you're listening, is going to win the 2020 F1 Drivers' Championship with Red Bull Honda. So I'm pretty excited about that. He's been doing really well. He's young. He's like 22 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
He just got his license.
How's he got his license, and he's driving 200 mile an hour. So I think that is a bold prediction, and a little bonus bold prediction is that Marc Marquez will win his 9th MotoGP world title. So MotoGP is the equivalent to Formula One of motorcycle racing, so the pinnacle. And he's won 8 of them so far, and he's 26. Wow. So these are young and successful fellas.
He was driving before you.
Yeah. I know. You go pro like in high school. Yeah, those are some bold predictions that I hope to happen personally from my interests. Number 19. Josh, are you ready?
Ready.
The stock market, the S&P 500 specifically, is going to return in 2020 around 8%, according to me. I'm saying target price 3,500, and I get to that number by saying, we're going to get 2% GDP, we're going to get 2% inflation, we're going to get 10% earnings growth. I think I can justify about an 8% price target return, and then if you include 1/8 to 2% in dividends, the average investor should see almost 10% total return. That's what I'm saying. Bold prediction for 2020. Josh, what do you think?
Is it bold though? Because isn't that what that's averaged over the long run? So
we don't make
bold average prediction.
We're not target price people typically. Yeah. We'll typically look at intrinsic value, so less bold than maybe some.
Okay, and then for me, I'm not quite as optimistic, but I'm going to end. I'm going to end the year at 34.40. So that's about a 6.5% return on price, which will get you right around that 8% return with dividends. So I think it's going to be a good year, but just following up a big year like 2019 was, maybe a little more muted, in my opinion, with the elections thrown in there as well. Could be a little bit more volatile.
Yeah, I totally agree. That 30% return we had-ish in 2019 is really hard to follow up, so definitely not feeling like we're going to hit that, but still feel like the economy's in pretty good shape, and hopefully that'll help. But yeah, like you said, the political situation with an election and stuff like that, and still some unresolved full trade deal issues, I think is gonna put a little damper on that with that uncertainty. So that's our bold prediction for 2020.
There we go.
We will see. Number 20, Josh, what is our final bold prediction for 2020?
Before we get on that, do you have any personal resolution? We didn't really talk about that at all. Do you have one that you've done?
I don't.
I can tell you mine.
Tell me it, Josh.
All right. So my New Year's resolution was to read more this year. So of course I took it and it started. I turned the caption on my TV. So I guess that makes my New Year's resolution 1080p.
So when you sit down and watch Avatar, which is like 3 hours, you're reading like three books.
That's a lot of words.
That's a lot of books.
My word count is going way up.
Maybe Josh's hearing's just going bad, so he needs to read
I'm just getting
while
old.
he watches TV.
Just getting old. No, the last one has to do with this podcast. I believe, I know. Which one's more confident? I know that we will have 10,000 subscribers by the end of 2020. So that's a big prediction. That's going from 0 because we're just starting out.
Our moms are subscribed,
Yep,
so we got a couple.
And our wives are considering it, so that could be 4 there. By the end of the year, 10,000. And so we could use your help, obviously. So we could use you guys to subscribe to this podcast and also check out our website. There, you can subscribe there to get emails and updates.
What's our website, Josh?
theinvesteddads.com is our website.
Right.
And we want to encourage you to help. And so, Austin, what can we do to help them subscribe and be a part of our...
Right, yeah, we would love to have you help us out and to create some buzz through Apple Podcasts and really kind of move up the charts there. We are doing a swag giveaway. Josh, you like swag?
I love swag.
How about T-shirts?
I love T-shirts.
I love T-shirts, too. So we just have seen the proofs of these T-shirts, and they are awesome.
They are amazing.
So shout out to Flag City Clothing in Findlay, Ohio. They look great, and we're excited to help out some listeners with that. So here's what you need to do to get your free T-shirt. You need to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. So leave us a review, screenshot that review, take a screenshot of it, and then email that screenshot to hello@theinvesteddads.com. And then we'll follow up with the first 25 subscribers to get their shirt size and mailing address and be able to mail you guys your shirts. So we are so excited. We need your help, and this is really going to help us reach our goal here this year. So, yeah, help us out, and you can get some pretty sweet swag along the way.
That's right. And you'll probably see some posts of us wearing some as soon as we get those first order in. So we're real excited. So like we said, for us, what you can do is you can subscribe. So you can do that anytime. Don't wait for your shirt. So go ahead and go to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to this podcast. Make sure you subscribe to get the most recent one. Go to our website at theinvesteddads.com. Sign up for our email. We got some stuff there for you as well as something you can download to help you out, kind of some quick points to help you along with your financial planning.
Yeah, and finally, I guess stay tuned because we're going to revisit these 20 bold predictions at the end of this year, and we're going to have a follow-up episode where we look at each one and see how we did, whether we were right or wrong.
We will score ourselves, and we're going to be brutal.
20 for 20 seems pretty hard. But
I already know I got a couple of these. The pockets in the girls' pants. There's some good ones there that I know they're going to happen.
Hey, it's happening. So we are working for you, but we're excited that you joined us today in this episode. So stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Invested Dads podcast. This episode has ended, but your journey towards a better financial future doesn't have to. Head over to theinvesteddads.com to access all the links and resources mentioned in today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and we had a positive impact on your life, leave us a review, click subscribe, and don't miss the next episode. Josh Robb and Austin Wilson work for Hicks & Zerker Capital Management. All opinions expressed by Josh, Austin, or any podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Hicks & Zerker Capital Management. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Clients of Hicks & Zerker Capital Management may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast. There is no guarantee that the statements, opinions, or forecasts provided herein will prove to be correct. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Indices are not available for direct investment. Any investor who attempts to mimic the performance of an index would incur fees and expenses which would reduce returns. Securities investing involves risk, including the potential for loss of principal. There is no assurance that any investment plan or strategy will be successful.